welcome back to the channel. Today we have a super exciting mod for the Supra. As you can see, it is jacked up, wheels have all been taken off and everything, and it's coilovers. We're gonna be doing the BC coilovers. I forget the series that I'm running. And on top of that, we're also gonna be installing the new wheels. As you can see, they're the Advan GT Premiums. I'm really excited to see how this car handles now in coilovers and not just stock suspension. Let's just dive right into it. So I'm not gonna get too in depth about how I actually install them because I forget the name of the channel. I think it was called Speed Industry. They did a very, very thorough job on installing the coilovers on an A90. So if you ever want to see exactly how to do it, they pretty much describe every nut and bolt. My really good friend Sean over at Mashimarho, I'm gonna link him down below. He hooked me up with the set. He's pretty much hooked me up with everything for this car. If you're ever looking for anything for like a Supra, a BMW, Porsche, he does like GT3s and stuff and a couple of other cars, hit him up. He's a super nice dude and he'll make sure to take care of you. He is an awesome person. Let's just dive right into it. Let's see how this turns out. So we're gonna start with the rears first. As I said, I'm really not gonna dive into too much about how exactly I do it, but just for like a really quick rundown, it's really simple. So you have a couple torque spits up there, and then I think you actually have a torque spit down here. Not really sure if you can see that. I'm probably gonna do both the rears first and then the fronts because I think the rears should be pretty easy. It looks really similar to like an E36 rear end. So I've almost removed both the front struts, but I'm running into the same issue on both of them. I'm trying to get the, there's the way the strut's held in, it's like kind of like a clamp at the bottom of it. And I'm having a ton of difficulty trying to actually I'm shoving like a pry bar in there and trying to pretty much push it apart so I can try to wiggle it out. But I've been no luck so far. So we're pretty much pushing through that. It's, the rear's pretty much done, both of them. But it's just the fronts. I knew that they're gonna be a little bit tougher, but I guess everything leading up to this point was super easy. Hopefully check it back in when I actually get the front struts out because it's kind of kicking my ass. So I made a very, very simple mistake. I didn't realize. So I loosened the top 3 bolts on the strut mount. So I took 3 off and I left one in there loosened. And I forgot I left it in there and it was like, the strut was doing nothing. I couldn't do anything with it. I was like, oh wait, I probably just forgot to take that off. So the second I took it off, this whole thing pretty much just came right out. I thought what I was having issues with was this actually not coming out where it was clamped in. I was wrong. The second I undid it, it dropped and pretty much pulled right out. Just gotta pull out the passenger side now, install, and then we're pretty much good to go. All right, so today's day 2 of installing the coilovers. I ran into a very minor issue. I kept running into this issue where I couldn't get the bottom of the coilover to slide far enough down the sleeve. I didn't see too many issues with this, but I'm running into the issue. So what I found out is I was trying to put behind a breaker, or not a breaker bar, but a pry bar to try to open up the gap a little bit while I was jacking it up and it wasn't really working. I got this little part off Amazon that had overnight shipping. So it's this little piece, an Advan Strut Spreader tool. It's kind of hard to see what it looks like. You pretty much put this into the slit and then with the ratchet, you just turn it pretty much, it doesn't matter which way, because you can kind of see it's like an oval shape. And it's supposed to essentially stretch out the coupler, whatever it is that the strut goes into. Luckily, there was one on Amazon that I bought and I just drove down to a can and picked it up and drove it back. My buddy Vin told me you're likely gonna need to use this. And pulling out the struts is no problem, but getting them back in has been the issue for me. So now we're gonna try to shove that in the back, try to get these installed and get this thing on the ground. So that just worked like a fucking charm. It went straight in, no problem. You can see now it's actually seated properly. Everything's lined up right where it needs to be. So I saw nothing about that online. So thankfully I reached out to Vin. This was before I started doing the coilover install and I was like, hey, what possible issues am I gonna run into? This was the only thing he said. That's my #1 recommendation. Coilovers on these cars are really, really easy, except for this. And it's getting the strut back into that coupler that I personally ran into an issue. I'm gonna put down below what I bought. It's only 10 bucks and I was going back and forth on this coilover, the fronts for no joke, I think hour and a half or 2 hours doing anything I could to get them to sit in properly and nothing I did worked. Next time I ever go to install coilovers or if you're about to, get that little coupler. You can see it's just on the back and it spaces it out. Even with a pry bar, I guess I wasn't getting enough clearance, but that just made it so much easier. We're gonna wrap up the coilovers real quick and get this thing back on the ground. So check it out. She didn't go that much lower. I was hoping it'd be a bit lower. The front does look really good though. Actually, it looks really, really good. The suspension hasn't even settled yet, so maybe when I move it around a little bit, it should actually lower a teeny bit more. All right. The moment we've all been waiting for. I'm gonna go move it around a little bit and try to settle the suspension. The suspension is now settled. I put about 20 miles on it or so. So far, I'm super happy with how the car drives. I'm even happy with how the car looks. Again, huge shout out to Sean over at Mashimarho, my good friend. He helped me get this set of BCs and they came in really fast. Then System Motorsports as well for helping source these Advan GTs. They are the Advan GT Premiums. In case anyone wants to run the same exact size that I am, they're pretty much perfect fitment. Super happy with how the coilovers came out and the wheels. A new part just showed up too, but that one we have to send off the paint first before we can put it on the car. Don't want to just mount it without painting it. Other than that, we got a few other things we got to put on the car, but beyond happy with how this came out.